This is the longest I've gone without cheating, my girlfriend said at the bar, while her friends laughed. I just paid for my drink and left. They were losing it. Sup, Reddit. I was dating this chick for months. Everything seemed good until she decided to reveal that she's basically a hoe. The problem is, she really thought I'd be laughing with her about it. Bad move, Vicky. Let's say someone got roasted for 20 minutes straight, then got escorted from the bar with her friends while I played darts. But that wasn't the end. Here's what went down. I, 28 male, have been working as a game designer for an indie studio downtown for about 4 years now. We make mobile games that don't completely suck. Think puzzle games that actually require brain cells, instead of just asking you to buy more lives every 5 minutes. Pays decent, work is creative, and I get to tell people I make video games for a living, which still sounds cooler than it actually is most days. I live in a one-bedroom apartment. That's exactly what you'd expect from a guy who spends 12 hours a day staring at code and asset files. Gaming setup takes up half the living room. Pizza boxes occasionally achieve sentience in the kitchen, and my neighbors probably think I'm running some kind of illegal gambling operation based on how much I yell at my monitor during playtests. My boys Matt and Adam have been tight since college. Matt runs a small construction crew, built like he could bench press a damn car, and has exactly zero patience for people's nonsense. Adam works as a paralegal at a law firm downtown, which means he's basically a professional paranoid person who knows way too much about documentation and evidence gathering. Every couple weeks, we hit up Blackwood Tavern, this dive that's been serving cheap drinks and questionable decisions since the Reagan administration. Not the kind of place you'd bring a Tinder date unless you're really confident in your personality. Sticky floors, dartboards held together with duct tape and prayer, and a jukebox that's been playing the same Lynyrd Skynyrd songs since Clinton was in office. The crowd is exactly what you'd expect. Construction guys decompressing after work, a few regulars who've been drinking there since it opened, and people like us who appreciate that nobody cares what you do for a living, as long as you tip the bartender and don't start fights. Tommy the bartender is this former Navy guy who's seen every type of drunk idiot you can imagine, keeps the place running smooth, and doesn't hesitate to throw people out if they get stupid. The kind of guy who calls everyone chief, and somehow makes it sound friendly instead of condescending. That Friday started like any other. Spent the day debugging a boss fight that kept glitching out whenever players tried to use special abilities. By 6 p.m., my brain was fried, and I needed drinks and friends who understood the therapeutic value of complaining about work. Matt was already posted up at our usual corner table when I walked in around 6:30. Prime real estate, good view of the TVs, close to the dartboards, far enough from the bathroom that you don't get the constant traffic. Adam rolled in 10 minutes later, looking like he'd spent the day dealing with corporate executives who thought password 123 was adequate security. Please tell me we're getting properly wasted tonight, Adam said, dropping his jacket on the back of his chair. I spent 6 hours explaining to a CEO why his secretary shouldn't be using the same login for company emails and her OnlyFans account. That was the plan. Few drinks, some wings that would probably take years off our lives, maybe play darts if we could trust ourselves not to put holes in the wall. Standard Friday routine. Around 7:15, my phone buzzed. Text from Vicky asking what I was up to. We'd been dating for about 10 months at that point. Met her through a mutual friend at some house party. She seemed normal enough at first glance. Had her own apartment, decent job doing something with social media marketing, and could hold a conversation about topics other than reality TV. Just drinking with the guys at Blackwood, I texted back. OMG, perfect. Me and the girls are looking for somewhere fun tonight. We'll come meet you. Never been better. That's what me and the boys exactly needed. Wrong. It's not really that kind of place. Don't be silly. It'll be great to hang out together. See you soon. X. I showed Matt and Adam the texts. Matt just shook his head. Man, this was supposed to be boys' night. Now we gotta pretend we care about whatever Instagram drama they're dealing with this week. Adam was more philosophical about it. As long as they don't expect us to finance their night, whatever. But I'm not buying $20 cocktails for people I barely know. Famous last words. Adam. Famous last words. They showed up around 8:45 looking like they'd gotten dressed for a completely different establishment. Vicky had on this designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, heels that made no practical sense for anywhere with sawdust on the floor, and enough jewelry to fund a small startup. Her friends were dressed similarly, Chelsea, Brooklyn, and Tiffany, because of course those were their names. Chelsea immediately started taking photos of herself making disgusted faces, like she was documenting a visit to a hazardous waste site. Brooklyn kept checking her phone and sighing dramatically about how rustic everything was. Tiffany looked around like she was mentally calculating how many vaccinations she'd need after touching anything. This place is so authentic, Vicky said, which was clearly her polite way of saying it looked like a health code violation. Tommy came over to take drink orders, probably already sensing this was going to be a long night. Dude's been bartending long enough to spot trouble before it announces itself. What can I get you, ladies? They ordered the priciest drinks on the menu. Some kind of lavender martini, a cocktail with elderflower, and artisanal whatever. Two different variations of Cosmos that required ingredients Tommy had to Google to make sure he actually had them. Mini umbrellas, the works. Meanwhile, we ordered our usual 3 Budweisers like civilized human beings. Matt grabbed the tab without saying anything, which was his standard move. Always insisted on buying the first round, said it kept the karma balanced. $43 for 7 drinks. The 3 beers were $12 total, so you can do the math on what their liquid mistakes cost. The conversation started normal enough, but within 20 minutes the pick-me behavior was in full swing. Chelsea kept touching Matt's arm whenever she laughed, which was constantly, "Oh my God, you're so funny. I love guys with a sense of humor." Matt looked like he was watching a nature documentary about annoying birds. Brooklyn was even worse with Adam, leaning way too close and playing with her hair. "I bet you're really smart with numbers and stuff. I'm terrible at math. Maybe you could teach me sometime?" Adam just stared at her like she'd suggested he eat broken glass. Tiffany was taking a different approach, constantly putting down other women. Ugh, girls these days are so dramatic and high maintenance. I'm totally one of the guys. I hate drama and I actually eat real food, not just salads. The whole performance was embarrassing to watch. Matt and Adam kept exchanging confused looks. "So Matt, do you work out a lot?" Chelsea asked, squeezing his bicep. "You're so strong." "I work construction," Matt said flatly. "It's called having a job." Brooklyn tried a different angle with Adam. "I love a man who knows what he wants. You seem so confident and mysterious." "I organize legal documents for a living," Adam replied. "Real mysterious stuff like filing deadlines and court schedules." But you could feel the tension building beyond just the cringy flirting. The girls kept making comments about how different the place was, taking selfies with captions I could already imagine. "Slumming it tonight. Authentic Jounger dive bar, Jarso tacky." About an hour in, after they'd taken Instagram photos with their drinks but barely actually consumed any of them, the conversation shifted to relationships and dating. That's when things got really interesting. Tiffany started telling this story about some coworker who got caught cheating through text messages. Whole office drama situation where apparently everyone picked sides and it got messy. "I honestly don't understand serial cheaters," Tiffany said, still trying to impress the guys while stirring her third Cosmos. "Like, I would never do that to a man. I'm not like other girls. When I commit, I actually commit." Chelsea jumped right in, looking directly at Matt. "Exactly. I think loyalty is so important. Some girls just don't appreciate a good man when they have one." Brooklyn nodded along enthusiastically while batting her eyelashes at Adam. "Total trash behavior. I always tell guys, you don't have to worry about me. I'm not like those other girls." Matt was clearly getting annoyed with Chelsea's constant touching. "Yeah, well, actions speak louder than words." That's when Vicky decided to drop the conversational equivalent of a nuclear weapon. "Well, this is the longest I've gone without cheating, so I guess I'm basically ready for marriage at this point." The entire table went dead silent, like someone had hit the mute button on reality. Matt's head snapped up and he stared at Chelsea, who had just been bragging about loyalty. Adam looked at Brooklyn with pure disgust. "I felt like I was in a video game where someone had just revealed that the princess you'd been trying to rescue was actually the final boss." Then her friends started laughing. Not embarrassed laughter, not, "Oh no, she said too much" laughter. Genuine amusement, like this was the funniest thing they'd heard all week. The same girls who had just been performing their not like other girls routine were now cackling about their friend's admission. "Wait, how long exactly?" Chelsea asked, completely forgetting she'd been playing innocent 2 seconds earlier. 10 months, Vicky announced, raising her barely touched martini like she was making a toast to her amazing achievement. "Personal record, honestly." More laughter from the group. Brooklyn started clapping like Vicky had just announced she'd cured cancer. Matt and Adam were looking at me like shocked Pikachus. The pick-me act had completely evaporated. These girls had just gone from, "We're not like other girls, we're loyal," to celebrating their friend's cheating streak in about 30 seconds. "I mean, you guys knew I wasn't exactly a nun in my past relationships, right?" Vicky said, looking at me with this casual smile. Number hell no. I absolutely did not know that. Every conversation we'd had about her exes painted them as the villains. They were controlling. They didn't appreciate her. They had commitment issues. All the standard explanations people give when relationships don't work out. You said your exes were all jerks, I managed to get out, still processing what I'd just heard. Oh, they were complete assholes. But I wasn't exactly perfect either, she said with a shrug that was way too casual for admitting to being a serial cheater. Matt leaned forward, and I recognized that look in his eyes. Someone was about to get verbally destroyed. What exactly do you mean by not perfect? You know, I might have kept my options open while I was figuring things out with them. The way she said kept my options open, like she was talking about choosing between Netflix shows instead of systematically betraying every person who'd ever trusted her with their heart. Adam set his drink down and looked directly at Vicky. So you're telling us that 10 months with Sam is the longest you've ever managed to not cheat on someone? Yeah. I mean, it shows I'm really committed now, right? Matt started laughing. Oh, this is incredible. You're treating basic human decency like it's some kind of Olympic achievement? What's next? You want a parade for not shoplifting? The girls stopped laughing real quick when they realized the mood had shifted. It's not that serious, Brooklyn jumped in, trying to defend her friend. Everyone has a past. Having a past is dating different people before you settle down, Adam shot back. This sounds like a behavioral pattern. Chelsea got defensive fast. You guys are being really harsh. People make mistakes. Mistakes are one-time things you learn from, Matt said. This girl just told us she's never been faithful to anyone for longer than 10 months. That's not a mistake, that's a hobby. Watching my boys have my back without hesitation was honestly the highlight of the entire disaster. These guys were ready to go to war for me before I'd even processed what was happening. Look, it's not like I was out there being a complete slut, Vicky said, starting to get angry. Wrong thing to say to Matt. Actually, you're right. Hoes are honest about what they want. You're just someone who lies to guys while you shop around for better options. That's when the girls completely lost their minds. Chelsea started yelling about toxic masculinity and how we were attacking Vicky for being honest about her past. Brooklyn called Matt a misogynistic piece of trash. Tiffany was trying to record everything on her phone, probably planning to post some victim narrative on TikTok later. But here's the thing. I was completely done. 10 months of thinking I was building something real with someone, and it turns out I'd just been her current project while she figured out if she could do better. You know what? This is fascinating, I said, standing up and pulling out my wallet. 10 months of you keeping your options open and I never knew. I'm either really naive or you're really good at this. Vicky looked confused. Sam, don't be dramatic. It's not like I cheated on you. Yet, Adam added helpfully. She didn't cheat on you yet. I counted out $15. Exactly what Matt, Adam, and I owed for our 3 beers, and put it on the table. Where are you going? Vicky demanded. You ladies can handle your own tab. But we don't have enough cash. Matt laughed and stood up. Sounds like a personal problem. You invited us here, Chelsea screeched. No, I said. Vicky invited herself. There's a difference. Adam was already walking toward the dartboards. Have fun explaining this to your Instagram followers. The 3 of us set up at the dartboard, while the girls sat there with their $80 tab and their wounded pride. Other people in the bar were starting to stare because they were making a scene, but we just focused on our game. This is so typical, Brooklyn yelled across the bar. You guys are such jerks. Matt lined up his shot. Says the girl who just found out her friend treats monogamy like a temporary challenge. We're calling an Uber, Tiffany announced, like this was supposed to be threatening. Cool story, Adam said, throwing a perfect bullseye. Vicky marched over to where we were playing, heels clicking on the worn wooden floor like an angry woodpecker. Sam, this is ridiculous. Can we please just talk about this like adults? Adults? Are you serious? I said, not looking away from the dartboard. I wasn't bragging. I was being honest. You were being honest about bragging rights you didn't earn, Matt said. That's like being proud of not punching babies. It's baseline human behavior. That's when Tommy decided he'd had enough entertainment for one night. He walked over with that calm authority that comes from years of managing drunk idiots. Ladies, you need to settle your tab and keep the noise down, or you're going to have to continue this conversation somewhere else. These guys abandoned us with their bill. Chelsea pointed at us like we'd committed grand theft. Tommy looked genuinely confused. Didn't you order those drinks yourselves? The girls couldn't answer that question because the answer made them look like entitled idiots who expected other people to pay for their poor decisions. Look, handle your business or take it outside. This isn't complicated. They went back to their table to figure out how to split $80 4 ways, but kept shooting dirty looks at us and making comments loud enough for everyone to hear about how we were typical men and complete garbage. Real classy behavior that definitely proved they were the mature ones in this situation. Adam threw his dart and grinned. $5 says they get kicked out before they figure out how to tip. No bet, I said. That's guaranteed money. The girls managed to scrape together enough cash and credit cards to cover their tab, but not before making sure everyone in the bar knew they thought the place was beneath them, and we were terrible people for not bankrolling their night out. They finally left around 10:30, but not before Vicky announced loudly that she was done with immature little boys who can't handle a real woman. Tommy came over afterward with 3 beers on the house. Those your girlfriends? Not anymore, I said. Smart move. They were killing the vibe. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Vicky would realize she'd screwed up, maybe send an apology text, and we'd both move on with our lives like adults. But apparently, I'd seriously underestimated just how entitled and vindictive this woman could get when she didn't get her way. The harassment started the next morning with a series of increasingly unhinged text messages. Not angry breakup texts, but confused messages acting like I was the one being unreasonable. Why are you being so dramatic about this? It's not like I actually cheated on you. My friends think you're completely overreacting. When I didn't respond to the texts, she moved on to phone calls. When I stopped answering the calls, she started showing up places. My coffee shop, my gym, outside my apartment building. Just happening to be in the same place as me and wanting to have a conversation. But the real escalation started about a week later when she got creative. First, she made fake dating profiles using photos from my social media. Good photos, too. Ones where I actually looked decent instead of like I'd been living on energy drinks and spite. Started matching with girls in our area and sending messages claiming I was looking for hookups while in a relationship. I started getting confused texts from random women asking if I was really cheating on my girlfriend. Had to explain the situation to 3 different people before I figured out what was happening. Then she signed me up for every spam list and scam newsletter she could find. My email went from maybe 30 messages a day to over 300. Cryptocurrency scams, timeshare offers, mail enhancement ads, political fundraising emails from both parties. Had to create a new email address just to function. She also started leaving fake negative reviews for our game studio, claiming I'd been unprofessional and rude during customer support interactions. Fortunately, my boss knew me well enough to know it was personal drama, but it was still embarrassing to have to explain why my ex was trying to sabotage my career. Matt and Adam were getting regular updates on the crazy train and thought it was hilarious. Dude, you dodged a tactical nuke, Matt said. This chick is completely unhinged. But the absolute peak of her insanity came 2 weeks after the bar incident when she showed up at my office. Not just to talk or make a scene, she brought materials. A poster board with printed screenshots of our text conversations, photos of us together, and what looked like a PowerPoint presentation about our relationship timeline. She set up in the lobby like she was campaigning for student government. I just want everyone to know what kind of person Sam really is, she told our receptionist, who was trying to figure out if this was a mental health emergency or just regular Friday entertainment. The presentation was titled, and I shit you not, 10 months of manipulation, how Sam emotionally abused me, complete with highlighted text messages, relationship photos, and a detailed analysis of everything I'd supposedly done wrong. And girl was dead serious about it. Security called the cops. She got escorted off the property while clutching her poster board and yelling about how I was going to regret treating her like this. My coworkers thought it was the most entertaining thing that had happened in our office all year. My boss pulled me aside afterward and said, "Whatever you did to make that woman lose her mind, don't do it again. But also, probably good that you found out she was crazy before things got more serious." That's when I realized this wasn't just going to blow over. Vicky was escalating. Her friends were enabling her, and they were all completely convinced that I was the villain in this story. Time to call in some professional help. Adam, being the paralegal, had been quietly documenting everything from the beginning. Screenshots of the fake profiles, evidence of the email spam campaign, photos of her showing up at places she had no business being. This girl is basically conducting a harassment campaign, he said, showing me his folder of evidence. But if we're going to do something about it, we need more information. That's when Tiffany, surprisingly, reached out to me. Turns out she'd been getting increasingly uncomfortable with Vicky's behavior and the way Chelsea and Brooklyn were encouraging it. She'd kept quiet during the bar incident because she didn't want to become a target, but watching Vicky's meltdown over the past few weeks had been eye-opening. Sam, I need to apologize for that night and everything that's happened since. Vicky and the other girls are completely out of line. Tiffany had been keeping receipts, apparently. Screenshots of group chats, photos, videos. Basically a documentary of every terrible thing they'd done or said. She'd been planning to distance herself from the group anyway, and wanted to make sure she had evidence in case they turned on her. I always thought you seemed like a decent guy. You didn't deserve what happened at the bar, and you definitely don't deserve this stalking campaign. That's when I learned the full scope of Vicky's relationship history and her friends' involvement in enabling it. 4 different guys in high school, all of whom had thought they were exclusive. Her college boyfriend found out she was hooking up with guys from her study group when someone posted photos on social media. Her last relationship ended when the guy found dating app messages on her phone during a movie night. Her friends think it's hilarious, Tiffany explained. They call it Vicky being Vicky like it's some cute personality quirk, instead of a pattern of behavior that destroys people. But the most disturbing part was learning about their actual strategy. Vicky had been bragging to her friends about training me to be the perfect boyfriend while she figured out if she could find someone better. They had a whole system worked out: how to hide evidence, explanations for suspicious behavior, backup stories for getting caught. Tiffany also provided screenshots of group chats where they discussed their current projects. Apparently, all 3 of them were running similar schemes on different guys. Chelsea was dating some finance bro while hooking up with her personal trainer. Brooklyn was engaged to one guy while still sleeping with her ex. It was like a masterclass in being a terrible human being. I should have said something sooner, but I was scared they'd destroy me if I didn't go along with their games. Armed with this information, I realized I wasn't just dealing with one crazy ex. I was dealing with a freaking cult. But Tiffany also gave me something valuable: inside information about their vulnerabilities. They're all terrified of their parents finding out who they really are. They've been lying about their relationships for years, making themselves out to be victims whenever things go wrong. Chelsea's parents were conservative religious types who thought she was a sweet girl looking for a nice husband. Brooklyn's family was old money, who would cut her off if they knew about her lifestyle. Vicky's parents had been financially supporting her because they thought she kept ending up with abusive boyfriends. They've built their whole lives on lies, and they're all completely dependent on maintaining those lies. That's when Adam and I started planning something special. The beauty of being a game designer is that you spend all day thinking about systems, consequences, and how to create satisfying player experiences. Turns out those skills translate pretty well to real-life problem solving. Adam handled the documentation and legal strategy while I worked on the overall plan. We spent 2 weeks gathering evidence, organizing timelines, and building comprehensive files on all 3 girls and their enabler network. The plan was simple: give them exactly what they'd been doing to other people. First, we created a comprehensive dossier on each of them: social media posts, dating profiles, photos from parties, screenshots of conversations Tiffany had provided, everything that showed who they really were when they thought nobody important was watching. Then we identified their pressure points. Chelsea was applying for a promotion at her marketing firm and had been positioning herself as a relationship expert on LinkedIn. Brooklyn was planning an engagement party and had been posting about her perfect relationship on Instagram. Vicky had been telling her parents that I was abusive and controlling to maintain their financial support. The key was timing and leverage. Adam carefully documented their current dating activities using publicly available information and social media monitoring. Turns out all 3 of them were back to their old patterns within a week of the bar incident. Chelsea was already on multiple dating apps while supposedly being exclusive with her finance bro. Brooklyn was posting engagement photos while texting her ex about meetups. Vicky had started dating some lawyer but was also pursuing her yoga instructor. These girls are completely predictable, Adam said, showing me the evidence. They can't help themselves. We also reached out to some of their previous victims, guys who'd been burned by them in the past, but hadn't connected the dots about their coordinated strategy. Turns out there was a whole network of men who'd been manipulated by this group over the years. I always wondered how she seemed to know exactly what I was thinking, one guy said about his experience with Chelsea. Now I know it's because she'd done this exact same routine with other guys. The final piece was Tiffany agreeing to wear a wire during one of their girls' nights. She was planning to cut ties with them anyway, and wanted to get one last recording of them bragging about their schemes. The recording was everything we needed: 2 hours of them laughing about their current projects, sharing tips for manipulation, and making jokes about the guys they were stringing along. Vicky specifically talking about how she was going to destroy my reputation for embarrassing her at the bar. "These guys are so pathetic," Vicky said on the recording. "They actually think we care about them. It's like playing a video game where all the NPCs are programmed to be idiots." Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now we had everything we needed for the final phase. The revenge rollout was coordinated like a legal case, hitting multiple targets simultaneously so none of them could warn the others or coordinate a response. Phase 1 launched on a Friday morning. Adam prepared anonymous packages for each girl's workplace, containing printed screenshots of their dating profiles, text conversations with multiple guys, and evidence of their coordinated cheating schemes. Nothing illegal, nothing threatening, just documentation of their actual behavior, presented like evidence in a case file. Chelsea's marketing firm received a folder showing her LinkedIn posts about relationship integrity, alongside screenshots of her juggling 3 different guys and bragging about it in group chats. Her boss, who'd been considering her for a promotion to handle their family values client accounts, was reportedly very concerned about her professional judgment. Brooklyn's engagement party planning company got evidence that she was cheating on her fiancé while posting about their perfect love story on social media. Since their whole business model was built around authentic romance and trust, having a staff member exposed as a serial cheater was problematic for their brand. Vicky's social media marketing company received documentation of her harassment campaign against me, including the fake dating profiles and her plan to destroy my reputation. Her boss was not thrilled to learn that an employee was using company time and resources for personal vendettas. Phase 2 hit their personal lives that same afternoon. The finance bro got an anonymous message with screenshots of Chelsea's conversations about him being boring but useful and her active dating profiles. He broke up with her via text and blocked her on everything. Brooklyn's fiancé received a comprehensive package showing her ongoing relationship with her ex, complete with hotel receipts and text messages about how she was just keeping him around for the money. The engagement was off by Sunday. Vicky's new lawyer boyfriend got the full treatment. Recordings of her bragging about manipulating men, evidence of her pursuing other guys simultaneously, and screenshots of her calling him adequate for now in group chats. He went from planning a weekend getaway to changing his locks in about 6 hours. But Phase 3 was the masterpiece. All 3 girls had been lying to their families about their relationships for years, painting themselves as victims who kept ending up with bad guys. Their parents had been providing financial and emotional support based on these lies. Each family received a carefully curated package showing the truth, not just about their daughter's current behavior, but years of documented evidence showing the pattern. The group chats where they laughed about manipulating stupid guys, screenshots of them coaching each other on how to lie to parents, photos from parties where they were clearly not the innocent victims they'd been pretending to be. Chelsea's conservative religious parents were devastated to learn that their sweet daughter looking for a godly husband was actually running a sophisticated manipulation scheme on multiple men while posting about it on social media. Brooklyn's old money family was horrified that she'd been cheating on her fiancé while planning an expensive engagement party they were funding. The family patriarch, who prided himself on integrity and honor, was reportedly reconsidering her place in the family trust. Vicky's parents got the complete truth about our relationship, including recordings of her admitting she'd never been faithful to anyone, and her plans to see how long she could keep me around. They also learned about her harassment campaign, the office incident, and her actual behavior patterns going back years. The financial support stopped immediately. Chelsea got evicted from her apartment 2 weeks later. Brooklyn had to cancel her engagement party and move back in with relatives. Vicky lost her car when her parents stopped making payments. But the absolute best part was watching their friend group implode in real time. Within 48 hours of the evidence going public, they all turned on each other. Beautiful. Chelsea blamed Brooklyn for encouraging her behavior. Brooklyn claimed Vicky had pressured her into cheating. Vicky accused both of them of being jealous and sabotaging her relationships. Tiffany, who'd been instrumental in gathering evidence, distanced herself completely and started posting on social media about recognizing toxic friendships and choosing better people to surround yourself with. The social media fallout was beautiful to watch. Their Instagram stories became passive-aggressive wars where they'd post about fake friends and people who can't be trusted. Comment sections became battlegrounds where they'd air each other's dirty laundry for everyone to see. Matt and Adam watched the whole thing unfold like it was the season finale of their favorite show. "This is better than anything on Netflix," Matt said, scrolling through the drama on his phone. The professional consequences kept building. Chelsea got fired when several clients specifically requested she be removed from their accounts. Brooklyn's engagement party company let her go after photos surfaced of her making out with her ex at a work event. Vicky lost her job when her harassment campaign against me became public knowledge and reflected badly on the company. But my personal favorite consequence was watching them try to date again. Word had spread through our city's dating scene faster than a new TikTok dance. Screenshots of their conversations were being shared in group chats. Guys were warning each other on dating apps. Their reputations were completely destroyed. Vicky tried to match with guys on Tinder, only to get messages saying, "Aren't you that girl who bragged about cheating?" Chelsea created new profiles with different photos, but people recognized her anyway. Brooklyn moved to a different city, but the internet is forever. 6 months later, I ran into Chelsea at a store. She was with what looked like her mother, dressed way more conservatively than I'd ever seen her, and clearly miserable. When she saw me, she actually tried to hide behind a cereal display. Sucks to suck, I guess. Justice has been served, Adam said when I told him about the encounter. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. As for me, I'm doing great. Started dating someone new about 3 months after the whole incident, a software engineer named Rachel, who I met through work connections. When we talked about past relationships, she was honest about her experiences without treating them like competitive achievements or strategic victories. Matt and Adam are legends for having my back that night at Blackwood Tavern. Having friends who will defend you without hesitation when someone shows their true colors is worth more than anything. Tommy still buys us around whenever we come in for our Friday night drinks. You guys handled that situation perfectly, he always says. Sometimes people need to learn that actions have consequences. The best part of the whole story? Tiffany ended up dating Matt about 4 months later. Yup, I know. I didn't like it too. But girl seems good now. I'd give her that. Turns out she'd had a crush on him since that night at the bar when he defended me without knowing the full situation. They're good together. Tiffany brings out Matt's softer side, and Matt gives her the confidence to stand up for herself instead of going along with toxic people to avoid conflict. Vicky and her crew wanted to play games with people's emotions and manipulate multiple victims simultaneously. Instead, they lost their jobs, their relationships, their financial support, their friends' cult, and their reputations. All because they couldn't resist bragging about their worst qualities to someone who had every reason to care about being manipulated. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Sometimes the most satisfying victories come from simply letting terrible people reveal who they really are.